Infinite Dendrogram begins by showing a young man named Mukudori Reiji, who has just enrolled in a game called Infinite Dendrogram. The game is an MMORPG game that allows each player to enter the virtual reality world through an antenna that is connected to the player's brain. After registering, each player will get a tool called Embryo, where the tool will give different powers to each player based on their intelligence and personality. At that time, Reiji was greeted by an administrator named Chesha, who would direct him to choose a name and an avatar form. Reiji also decided to choose Ray Starling as his name in the game and use his real face with a slight change of hair color as his avatar. After completing the registration, Chesha gave Ray an item box and an embryo before finally moving him to a city inhabited by new players. After arriving in the city, Ray began to complete his first quest, which was to help a female NPC knight named Liliana to save her sister named Million. While at the fountain garden, Ray met another player named Shu Starling who was dressed in a bear costume. Shu also helps Ray to complete his first quest by telling him that Million might be in a garden on the edge of town. Before entering the garden, Shu gave some health potions and life items to Ray because his level was still low. Shu also told him to always be careful, because if a player dies in the game, they will not be able to log into the game for 72 hours. On the other hand, Liliana was seen fighting against several monsters in order to protect her little sister. But because there were too many of them, Liliana began to struggle to defeat them all. Fortunately, Shu and Ray came at the right time to help her, and after that, they finally managed to defeat all the monsters. But it turns out that there are still monsters with greater strength that suddenly appear and attack them. Liliana then asked Ray to take Million to a safe place while she and Shu would fight against the monster. Unfortunately, on the way, Ray and Million were confronted by a giant centipede monster, so he had no other choice but to face the monster. Ray realized that he might not be able to defeat the monster alone, but he would try to withstand the attack while replenishing his health by using potions. That way, he could buy time until Shu and Liliana came to their aid and gave Million a chance to escape. Unfortunately, the centipede monster suddenly attacked Million because of the sound that she made. Fortunately, Ray was able to save her using the life item that Shu had previously given him. Ray was forced to give the only life item to Million, because if an NPC dies in the game, they will disappear forever and be replaced by another NPC. But Ray has no health potions at all, so he tries to communicate with his embryo to give him a weapon and power. And surprisingly, the embryo suddenly activated and released a girl who could transform into a sword. With the sword's ultimate power, Ray finally defeated the centipede monster with one sword slash. After the fight ended, Ray successfully completed his first quest, and then his embryo girl introduced herself as Nemesis. The next day, Ray already had extra gear and a protective cloak, thanks to the items he got in yesterday's battle. After that, Shu asked him to have a class or job that Ray would take in the game, and Ray chose to become a paladin. After Ray took care of letters of recommendation from knights, donated some money to the church, and defeated several intermediate monsters, Ray officially became a paladin. One day when Ray was going around the hills to defeat monsters, he met a male player named Rook and his embryo girl named Babylon. After that, Rook invited Ray and Nemesis to eat together as a thank you for previously helping him defeat the monsters. In the afternoon, when Ray was hunting monsters in the northern forest to increase his level, he suddenly met a PK or player killer. Ray tried to run and get out of the forest to save himself, but the PK managed to catch and kill Ray. 3 days later, Ray could finally log into the game again after passing the penalty period. When he returned to the game, he saw Nemesis, who looked sad because she thought that Ray died because her strength was still very low. But Ray immediately comforted her and said that they would continue to work on increasing their strength together. That day, Ray decided to hunt monsters in the dungeon to avoid the PKs that were still roaming in the forest. While Ray was fighting monsters, a top player from the game named Figaro suddenly attacked Ray, thinking he was a monster. Figaro then apologized to Ray and asked why he was hunting monsters in the dungeon. Ray replied that he was forced to hunt monsters and level up in the dungeon because the northern forest is currently not safe from the threat of PK. Hearing this, Figaro said goodbye, saying that he would take care of the PKs in the area as his apology. A few days later, Ray and Nemesis were hanging out with Rook and Babylon at a cafe. They were discussing about the PK which had recently begun to mysteriously decrease. Hearing the conversation between them, a female journalist player named Marie Adler immediately approached them and informed them that 3 PK clans had been exterminated. The 3 PK clans that controlled 3 different areas had been exterminated by a top player named Figaro in the south, a Moon Clan leader named Fuso in the east, and a top player named Lele. Since the terror of PK had ended, players finally got a lot of new quests in their mission. That day, Ray invited Rook and Marie to join a guild to complete a group quest. Their first quest as a guild was to deliver an item to the other side of town. On the way, Ray and the others saw several NPCs being attacked by goblins, so they immediately helped the NPCs. After successfully defeating the goblins and protecting them from goblin attacks, a giant boss monster suddenly appeared and attacked them. The boss monster, named Gardronda, has the ability to spread poison to the surrounding area so that Rei and Rook find it difficult to move. Fortunately, Marie, who was out of reach of the poison, was able to give Rei a special potion so that he could be immune from the poison for 3 minutes. Rei begins to issue various attacks on Gardronda, while Rook and Babylon will fight against the crimson birds that attack from the air. Unfortunately, all of Rei's attacks on Gardronda don't do much damage. In times of crisis, Nemesis suddenly gave a notification to transform to level 2 and turn into a new weapon. After evolving to level 2, Nemesis has a new power, which is to turn all the effects of the opponent's attack into a source of attack power so that all the poison from the monster has no impact on Rei at all. Just as Rei was about to attack the monster with a final blow, Gardronda suddenly released a new power and almost burned Rei's body. Fortunately, he managed to survive, thanks to an unknown embryo weapon that suddenly appeared from the northern forest to destroy Gardronda. The next day, when Rei and Nemesis were relaxing under a tree, a player in a penguin costume suddenly appeared from behind and startled them. The penguin player named Flamingo then gave him a potion that could restore his energy. Without suspicion, Rei immediately drank the green potion and ended up growing a pair of cat ears on his head. It turned out that the potion was the result of Flamingo's experiment to grow a pair of cat ears on players. He then explained that Rei had nothing to worry about, as the cat ear effect would wear off after 10 hours. When Rei and Nemesis were walking in the middle of the city, he saw an NPC who was being troubled by bandits, so Rei intended to help her. But a male player named Hugo said that he would defeat the bandit alone while showing off his level, which had reached level 120. However, surprisingly, Hugo could easily be defeated by the bandits, so Rei had to step up to replace him and defeat all the bandits. After the bandits left, the female NPC they had saved gave them a quest to help her save her little sister, who had been kidnapped by the bandit group. They accepted the quest and were willing to do the quest for free. Shortly after, a little girl named Psycho appears, and it turns out that she is the embryo of Hugo. After Rei and Hugo arrived at the bandits' hideout, Hugo began to attack the base using a large robot that he controlled with Psycho as a diversion. Meanwhile, Rei and Nemesis will try to sneak into the base to save the children who have been kidnapped. After successfully infiltrating the base, Rei is confronted by an undead monster that comes from the souls of NPC children who have been kidnapped by bandits. He immediately burned all the undead monsters so he could free the souls of the NPC children. On the other hand, after Hugo managed to defeat the bandits, he again had to fight against a great gladiator who claimed to be the deputy leader of the bandits. Seeing this, Hugo decided to release his true power, where he would unite the power of the robot with the power of Psycho to create a very strong robot. As a result, with one powerful attack, Hugo could knock the gladiator down and corner the monster. Meanwhile, Rei, who has managed to find the room where the children are being held, tries to enter another room and sees a boy who is about to be sacrificed in a ritual. When Rei was about to take the boy away, the boy suddenly released poison on Rei, and a monster named Goose suddenly appeared behind Rei. It turned out that all this time, Goose had killed many humans to be turned into undead creatures so that he could evolve into an immortal undead king. Fortunately, Rei wasn't affected by the boy's poison due to his level 2 skill, so he was able to attack Goose more easily. Moreover, as a paladin, Rei had the advantage over the undead with his holy weapon. Even the cornered Goose had no other choice but to flee from that place, but while outside, Goose was blocked by Hugo. The situation forced Goose to use the power of hatred he had gathered from thousands of humans and turned into a crystal. Fortunately, all the power of the hate crystal was countered by Rei using his absorption skill. After successfully defeating Goose, Rei and Hugo immediately went into the base to save the children who were still trapped. But after they were about to take the children away from the base, again, a monster named Maze suddenly rose after Goose's seed hidden in the gold chest was opened. Rei also asked Hugo to take all the children away from that place while he would try to defeat the monster alone. However, due to Maze's too much power, all of Rei's attacks left no damage. Even after he unleashed his ultimate power, the monster attacked Rei with such a powerful blow that he fell unconscious. Seeing the situation, Nemesis drank a healing potion into Rei's body and fought the monster alone. Fortunately, not long after he got the healing potion, he woke up again and was even more excited to defeat the monster. After a very fierce battle, Rei and Nemesis finally defeated the giant monster together. The next day, Rei earned a lot of money for successfully completing a dangerous quest that had a fairly high level of difficulty. Seeing the amount of money he received, Rei also intended to give some of the money to Hugo because he would not be able to complete the quest without his help. After Rei met with Psycho and Hugo at a cafe, he then gave some of the money he received to Hugo. In the evening, Rei and the others went to the big match arena to watch a battle of high-class players from various clans and kingdoms. Even Figaro was also participating in the match, and would be fighting against a female top player from another kingdom called Sunyu. On that occasion, Rei also introduced Shu to Marie, but after Marie saw Shu, she suddenly looked nervous. When the battle between Figaro and Sunyu began, the entire audience looked enthusiastic and supported their respective mainstay players. The battle between them was fierce, but Sunyu seemed so superior to Figaro that she was able to inflict a deep wound on him. To overcome the crisis, Figaro decided to take off all the armor he was wearing so he could maximize the power of the embryo he used to attack her. Then after he pulled out his strongest weapon, he finally managed to beat Sunyu. Everyone in the crowd looked satisfied and happy to watch the match, but all the excitement disappeared after Figaro suddenly couldn't move, and Flamingo opened his disguise. It turns out that the person behind the penguin costume is Mr. Franklin, a person who has been a top-level fugitive of the kingdom due to the crimes he has committed so far. All the players immediately issued an attack to bring down Franklin, but all of their attacks were blocked by the barrier above the arena. Franklin has also taken a royal princess named Elizabeth hostage so that the players can't just attack him. After that, Franklin created a special barrier that could lock all veteran players into the arena, while players under level 50 could pass through the barrier. In addition, he has also recruited several high-level players who have been intending to defect from the kingdom as his troops, who will block outside the arena. At first, the renegade troops seemed arrogant and confident because they would only fight against novice players. But all of that didn't last long, as Rei and Rook could easily defeat all those defector troops with the high-level items they had previously acquired. At the same time, Marie suddenly launched an attack on Franklin until he was seriously injured so that she could take Elizabeth away. Unfortunately, Franklin managed to get her back using long-range magic, and then sent his henchman named Veldorbel to defeat Marie. At first, Marie looked troubled and almost died because of Veldorbel's ability to control 4 powerful orchestral troops. But when Veldorbel was caught off guard, Marie used the opportunity to make a surprise attack from behind and finally managed to kill him. On the other hand, Franklin secretly approached Hugo and asked him not to attack Rei because he wanted to be the one to fight Rei head-on. It turns out that all this time, Hugo was a spy from Franklin, and he deliberately approached Rei to investigate his powers. On the other hand, Franklin, who had arrived in front of the arena gate, seemed to have been surrounded by the royal army. Liliana and the other royal troops began to perform a magical attack called the Grand Cross, but the attack could not bring him down. Franklin then summoned a giant monster that he had created using the experiments he had done so far. The monster could withstand all of Rei's attacks because Franklin had tracked Rei's power through the potion he gave Rei some time ago. Hearing this, Rei became challenged and even more excited to defeat Franklin, because he realized that the potion only lasted for 10 hours, so all the power that Rei had after the potion's effect was exhausted would not be detected by Franklin. Rei also used the gap to attack the monster using the power he gained after he defeated Maze earlier. With the help of Liliana and the Royal Knight blocking the monster's movement, Rei was finally able to land an attack on the monster's body. Before the monster could regenerate, Rei had already approached the monster and issued a fire attack that he received from the Guardronda monster. As a result, the monster that Franklin considered the strongest monster was defeated by Rei. And at the same time, Rook also managed to get Hugo into a corner due to his analytical skills and blind spot reading skills. Franklin, who realized that all of his plans had been foiled, began to launch his backup plan, which was to release 200 monsters into the city center. But the backup plan had been anticipated by Marie, who had destroyed all of Franklin's monster seeds. Franklin had no other choice but to use his final plan, which was to release tens of thousands of monsters that would continue to attack until the monsters died. Luckily, Rook and several other players had come to help the royal army defeat the monsters. Plus, Shu finally showed his true strength in front of everyone. Shu turns out to be the #1 player in the game who has more than 100,000 power, and has the title of King of Destroyer. He can defeat Franklin's monsters in a short time and immediately takes out a mass murder weapon that can instantly kill tens of thousands of monsters. After a long battle, Rei approached Franklin and asked why he tried to destroy the NPCs in the game. Even though Franklin actually realized that the NPCs in the game also had emotions like humans, Franklin had to do all that to get rid of anything that got in the way of his plan. Apparently, Rei deliberately invited him to talk so he could distract Franklin, and so Marie could save Elizabeth. After Shu attacks Franklin using his weapon, Rei prepares to do the ultimate attack on Franklin. But suddenly, Hugo appeared and blocked him because it turned out that Hugo was Franklin's younger brother. The fight between them was finally won by Rei, even though Rei had to sacrifice his left arm. After defeating Hugo, Rei also managed to kill Franklin with a very strong fire blow attack. The anime closes with Franklin and Hugo working out a new plan to defeat Rei. This anime teaches us not to underestimate the abilities or strengths of others just because we feel we are superior.